go. All right, so start us off here when we're talking about decoding. And decoding is recognizing and processing written information, breaking it down into words and understanding the meaning, and also understanding the individual parts of that. So how does decoding fit into the cognitive framework? We've talked about the cognitive framework off and on. There's two main components of that: that's cipher knowledge and lexical knowledge. Cipher being the ability to read and pronounce words, and lexical knowledge being the knowledge of how to recognize words and pronounce those words and understand the rules of that. Decoding achieves these two main components by doing a few things. Increases sight vocabulary, produces more fluent readers. Students learn irregular words, and they use root words and prefixes and suffixes. We talked about what skill levels each grade level should be, but for a particular part, I'm talking about what middle grade students, what they should be demonstrating with their decoding skills. They should be developing spelling and the use of syllables and affixes. They should they should be helping students determine word meanings using meaningful word parts. Teachers should be assessing the students using a spelling inventory and look at how each student spells words differently. And by doing this, they can determine each student's level and better prepare lessons for them. One of the main things we talked about that aided decoding was technology, and that technology is not a strategy but a tool that you use in your strategy. And the main way that it affects decoding is technology allows you to take written text and convert it into various forms of media, whether it be audio, video, music, or enhanced text. One of the biggest tools in technology would be text-to-speech, and it allows you to highlight written physical text, convert it to speech. You can slow it down, speed it up, do various things to it to meet the individual needs of a student. Audiobooks are another form that allow students to listen along as they read physically to passages. And then there's also programs out there that specifically help with not just decoding, but other forms like vocabulary and fluency. But one of the big ones I talked about was Read 180. So turn it over to my next colleague.
Along the lines of decoding, you'll have, I'm going to talk about some strategies that you can use with students with disabilities specifically. Students that are learning the language, have hearing disablements, or have dyslexia, often have problems with decoding. And for these students, multisensory learning is a key to helping them pick up these skills. So for students that have trouble with sound, you can have them sort through objects or picture cards, and that way they can put an object with the sounds. Also, you could use clay or sand cards or other manipulatives to attach meaning to words. For students that have hearing impairments, you have them feel the sounds that they make with their throat, and that can help them to identify the different parts of words and how those sounds go together to create words. So some strategies in general that you can use with students in general and with disabilities are word family trees, and that is where you might begin with a word from a student's text, and then you will give them the original word forms, ask them for related words, and then have them speculate on that word's connection to other words. And this way they can see how many different words connect together and really run together. Roots and branches, so for this you might use a graphic organizer and say focus on Greek and Latin roots. You would present the root and ask students to give words that contain that root, and then ask students to infer the meaning of the root given the words known. For instance, for leader or literacy. And so that's one example. Next would be a word wall, and this is where you could emphasize new, essential, or troublesome words for students. They're organized into sections. You might use a trifold board to and have them organized into prefixes, suffixes, and roots. And then introduce a word part that has a large family of words and encourage students to add words to that wall as they learn new words or encounter new words along their studies. And then a strategy for helping students figure out the meanings to new words would be dissect. So D is to discover the word's context by using the clues in the text around the word, so context clues. I is you isolate the prefix if there is one and then think of its meaning. S is you separate the suffix if there is one. And then the second S is say what is left, and that's the root word or the stem. And then E is that you examine the stem by separating the letters to make decoding easier. You try to look for a part of the word that you can say. C is that you would check with someone if necessary, so you might have the student check with a friend or with the student around them. And then finally, if they still cannot figure the word out or figure out how to pronounce it or figure out the meaning, you can have, the T stands for, have them try the dictionary pronunciation key. And then a final strategy for helping with syllables is a syllable search or a syllasearch. So you would write a multisyllabic word, attendance, for instance, on the board, then ask the following series of questions about the syllables in it. So what two letters make the AT sound? And that would obviously be A and T. What three letters make the ten sound? T-E-N. What five letters make the dance sound? D-A-N-C-E. And then you would ask it in a reverse order. So how would you say the syllable A-T? At. How would you say the syllable ten? T-E-N. Ten. And how would you say the syllable D-A-N-C-E? Dance. Is there another word that you can think of that contains the syllable A-T or at, the syllable T-E-N or ten, and then you would have them write those words on the board, or you would write the words on the board, so you might come up with cat, bat, mat, sat, fat.